At 72, Pierce Brosnan's secret tragedy will shock you. Elegance, resolve, and heart. These are the qualities audiences see when Pierce Brosnan appears on the silver screen. Generations have celebrated him as the embodiment of sophistication, from high-octane action hero to gentle, grieving father. Yet, beyond the bright glare of stardom is a different story, one forged not just by acclaim, but by battles with fate, with heartbreak, and with the relentless trials that can strike any of us. Even now, as he navigates his 8th decade, shadows from the past lengthen around him. Darkness has marked his path, threatening at every turn to shatter the peace he's fought so hard to protect. And today, as circumstances force him into decisions that leave his loved ones anxious, the question arises: what fires keep his spirit alive? What makes resilience possible when grief seems to have the final word? Before we begin this odyssey, I want to ask you, on a scale from 0 to 10, how would you measure Brosnan's legacy? Think it over, and as his remarkable journey unfolds, weigh your answer against the measure of what one person's endurance can teach us all. Origins in silence. Every story of sorrow has its first chapter. For Brosnan, the opening lines are written in the hush of an Irish morning, punctuated by the sound of a door closing and footsteps never returning. He arrived in this world on a spring day, May 16, 1953, in Drogheda, Ireland, to modest circumstances. There was no family wealth, no inherited name, and almost immediately, an absence. Thomas, his father, departed, leaving behind not an explanation, but a silenced hearth. "I never knew his face, never heard his voice," Brosnan later confided, his words carrying the soft ache of a wound time cannot ease. May, his mother, struggled on as a nurse, her compassion matched only by necessity. In 1957, with her child just 4 years old, May made a heart-shattering decision. She left for London in search of work, needing to believe the separation would last only a little while, but as months stretched to years, 7 in total, Pierce wandered from the care of grandparents to various aunts and uncles, a boy in search of a home to call his own. Every household had its rules, its strictures, and its unfamiliar rhythms. He learned early the virtues of quiet and caution, becoming the boy who watched life from windows rather than the one who called out to join it. Teachers saw the flicker of something bright behind shy glances, senses sharpened by hardship. When May eventually returned, new spouse William Carmichael in tow, she introduced both hope and uncertainty. William was kind, a patient stepfather who guided with gentle hands and taught through action. Still, for a boy who had only known the impermanence of borrowed beds, even affection could feel precarious. That same year, hoping to bridge the distance, William took his new stepson to the cinema. It was there, as James Bond blazed across the screen in Goldfinger, that Pierce found not only an idol, but an ideal. Strength, poise, untouchability, everything he lacked, magnified in celluloid dreams. "That's the man I want to be," Brosnan told himself, and with those words, a new fire was lit inside. Discovering a new stage. The birth of ambition can be accidental. By 16, Brosnan had enrolled at London's St. Martin's School of Art. He spent nights sketching and surviving on toast and tea, his mind's eye alive with images inspired by painters like Francis Bacon and Lucian Freud. Acting seemed worlds away, until the day he stumbled into a theater workshop drawn by the hypnotic spectacle of a fire eater at rehearsal. On a whim, he volunteered to try. That single, audacious moment redirected his life. Those around him saw a presence, a concealed intensity, and the unmistakable resilience of someone who'd already known loss. With this discovery, Brosnan transitioned from brush to stage, enrolling in the infamous Drama Centre London, a crucible so demanding half of each incoming class failed to last. Others gave up. He endured. Through odd jobs, nights spent learning Shakespeare and months perfecting mime and circus skills, Brosnan absorbed the lessons hardship delivers. Hunger makes the will supple. Fear makes the heart sturdy. His break came in 1976 with a brooding supporting role in the thriller Wait Until Dark, and months later he electrified London's theatre scene in Tennessee Williams's The Red Devil Battery Sign. Gradually, the footlights gave way to camera flashes and film sets, and bit parts with Hollywood icons like Elizabeth Taylor and Helen Mirren followed. None of it came easily, but what mattered was that he kept moving, refusing to let go of the momentum. 1982 arrived, and fate again intervened. Brosnan had only auditioned for a minor spot in NBC's new detective series, but his screen test was so magnetic that executives handed him the lead role outright. Remington Steele premiered to millions, making Brosnan a star almost overnight, the sort of transformation that would shape and shadow the rest of his days. Dreams deferred and realized. With fame came fortune, but also expectation. Almost immediately, fans began to whisper about Brosnan as the next James Bond. The studio noticed. In 1983, producer Cubby Broccoli remarked, "If he can act, he's my guy." But fate plays tricks. Schedules, studio politics, and Hollywood's slow grind meant Brosnan's first chance as Bond slipped by. The next time, contractual obligations kept him out of the running. He accepted frustration with a showman's poise, but the pain burrowed deep. The lost Bond years became their own crucible. Brosnan devoted himself to thrillers, dramas, even tongue-in-cheek commercials, cultivating patience and polishing his craft. Then, in 1994, the moment everyone had waited for arrived. He was no longer a hungry newcomer, but a seasoned professional. GoldenEye premiered, and with it, Brosnan saved not only a sputtering franchise, but redefined the role for another generation. Audiences soared, the box office roared, and his stunts, performed at great personal risk, became the stuff of legend. 3 more Bond films followed, and for millions, Brosnan became the face of 007. But the curtain closes on all acts. His tenure ended with barely a phone call, abrupt, almost disrespectful, as if decades could be dismissed in less than a minute. Other studios hesitated to cast him, fearful the Bond persona would eclipse every character he might try next. Financial and personal uncertainty loomed. One of Brosnan's children later described seeing their father cry for the first time as a Bond trailer played without him. He learned, again, that reinvention is both blessing and torment. The legend of Bond was his, but so was a new vulnerability, more profound than any shaken martini or high-speed chase. Love against the odds. At the heart of Brosnan's public story lies his private world. During the tumultuous beginnings of his career, he met Cassandra Harris, an actress of wit and magnetic presence. She was already the anchor of 2 children from a previous marriage, and with Brosnan, they formed an instant, inseparable family unit. The love story unfolded not with red carpet glamour, but in the gentle resilience of everyday life, shared moments, blended routines, small joys. They welcomed a son, Sean, and in photos from the early years, Brosnan's smile is not the suave mask of celebrity, but the honest, quiet beam of a man at home. "I wasn't a father, I was just Pierce, and then I became daddy," he once said, summing up the transformation that real connection brings. But joy's shadow is always near. In 1987, Cassandra fell ill while abroad, a fatigue and ache that soon revealed itself as advanced ovarian cancer. Suddenly, life narrowed to hospital corridors, diagnostic waits, the quiet dread spinning into sleepless nights. Over 4 years, as Harris endured a litany of treatments, surgeries, and slow declines, Brosnan became her steady witness and companion. To the world he appeared resolute. Privately, he was unraveling. Even their young son treated Cassandra with toy doctor's kits, innocent gestures that only deepened the agony of helplessness. As each night gave way to dawn, Cassandra offered words of wisdom and acceptance. "Please, darling, don't worry, it's just a life coming to rest," she whispered near the end, astonishingly calm as her world faded. On December 28, 1991, just a day after their 11th anniversary, Cassandra died. The grief, Brosnan would one day recall, embedded itself into his very bones. Echoes of grief, ripples of courage. Some losses resolve with time, the rest remain, echoing through life. For Brosnan, the specter returned in 2013 with brutal symmetry. His daughter Charlotte, luminous and resilient, the spirit of her mother rekindled, began to suffer the same silent illness. The legacy of ovarian cancer, passed down like a curse, left Brosnan devastated. A father forced to witness fate's cruelty once again. For 3 years, Charlotte fought valiantly, her foremost wish that her children remember her for courage, not suffering. In her final act, standing in a white dress to marry her partner, despite the shadow of impending death, she made love, not fear, her legacy. 2 weeks later, she was gone. The parallels with Cassandra's passing were more than uncanny, they were excruciating. Brosnan withstood the blow, but something elemental changed. There is no more solitary anguish than outliving one's child. It hollowed him, changed his stride, made every sunrise feel more precious, more precarious. He continued to work. Painting became a lifeline, advocacy a purpose. At cancer fundraisers, his steady voice gave voice to the pain so many others bear in silence. Unbreakable bonds, new beginnings. Not all devastation arrives at the hand of death. Sometimes the world delivers quiet betrayals, jobs lost, friendships ended, or, in Brosnan's case, professional identity erased with a phone call. In the wake of Bond's abrupt ending, offers dried up, salaries shrank, loyal staff were let go. Where he'd once dominated headlines, Brosnan now felt erased, haunted by the painful knowledge that decisions about his life's work had been made behind closed doors. Nonetheless, his resilience held. In the mid-1990s, another chance encounter changed his course. On a sunlit beach in Mexico, he met Keely, journalist, confidant, and partner. She saw not the icon, but a man still fractured by invisible scars. Their connection grew not as a second act, but as a lifeline, a partnership grounded not in spectacle, but in warmth. With Keely, Brosnan rebuilt. 2 more sons, Dylan and Paris, came into the world. The home they formed was one where old grief was not erased, but given space alongside new joy. Keely never demanded he move past pain. Instead, she helped him build a life that embraced both love and absence. Public scrutiny dogged their steps, especially when Keely's appearance became fodder for tabloids. Brosnan met it all with steady devotion. "I love every curve of her body. She's the most beautiful woman in my eyes," he declared, reminding the world that true loyalty shines brightest after the red carpets have faded. Navigating change, family, fame, and self. Even away from the world's gaze, Brosnan's trials continued. The slow erosion of connection with his eldest adopted son Christopher was a unique torment, one not marked by funerals, but by distance, silence, and addiction's lonely spiral. Brosnan did what he could, supporting, encouraging, hoping against hope. Eventually, for the sake of everyone's survival, he learned to love from afar. The quiet grief of losing someone still alive is an agony as sharp as any other. Through it all, Brosnan's home base became a place of sanctuary. For many years, he and Keely called their Thai-inspired Malibu estate their haven, filling it with art, laughter, and family. Eventually, they sold this beloved home, finding solace in the rhythmic tides of Hawaii and the quieter enclaves of coastal California. Here, Brosnan's days begin with coffee on the terrace, barefoot walks by the ocean, and moments of stillness where the world's clamor falls away. Family events, birthdays, milestones, ordinary dinners replace premieres and photo ops. With Keely and his children, Brosnan discovers that happiness can be reconstructed, moment by moment. Purpose beyond pain. Age has only sharpened Brosnan's focus. Now in his 70s, health, discipline, and creative expression define his days. Yoga, morning swims, wholesome meals, these are now weapons in his arsenal, as is steadfast attention to charity, especially in children's welfare, environmental stewardship, and cancer research. Painting, first a therapeutic refuge during Cassandra's illness, has become his passion. His abstract canvases, vibrant with color and emotion, now raise money for underserved communities and medical causes. Brosnan champions causes shoulder to shoulder with Keely, donating time, resources, and heart to those in need. He knows the power of loss, so he dedicates every day to fighting for hope. Life has to go on, and if it does, you better find something worth living for, he once said. A philosophy reflected in every paint stroke, every advocacy campaign, every hard-won smile. Reflections, a hero's true role. Through every disaster, every achievement, every shredded dream, Brosnan has never stopped moving forward. The absence of Cassandra and Charlotte marks every year, but today these absences have taken form, not as ghosts, but as guidance for his work, his art, his devotion to family. Public appearances are now rare, chosen for meaning rather than glamour. Script offers still come, but he's selective, choosing stories that resonate, films that stretch him. His greatest pride, though, remains his family, children and grandchildren growing into their own light, the echo of old laughter filling new spaces, hope and heartbreak coexisting in one home. Legacy in motion. For all the tuxedos and cinematic chases, Brosnan's real legacy is resilience. Not the capitalized resilience shouted from motivational posters, but the kind built through years of heartbreak, healing, and mercy. His fortune is ample, but meaning is what he fights for each day. Meaning in the art he creates, the causes he champions, the arms he opens wide for the family still by his side. The past lives with him, the future beckons. It's easy to imagine Brosnan's story is one of survival, but it is more. It is a story of transformation. Through family, he learned to build a home out of fragments. Through love, he found strength to keep giving, even when hope seemed lost. Through loss, he discovered the possibility of new beginnings, again and again. So as you reflect on his journey, ask yourself, which chapter speaks most powerfully to you? What does resilience look like in your life, and how would you measure a legacy built on heart rather than fame? If his story stirs something in you, share it. Tell a friend. Remind someone that even in seasons of unthinkable pain, hope can be rediscovered. And remember, each of us has the power to make meaning from the darkness, to offer comfort against cruelty, and to write our own chapters of endurance and grace. See you on the next video.